Hello, and welcome to another episode of Drafting Motherhood. I'm your host, Michaela Burnham, and today we're going to be talking about the mental load of motherhood. Now, I know that the beginning of this is going to be a little bit heavy, but stick with me, babe, okay? I promise there's a light at the end of this. It's not all doom and gloom. However, I do feel it's important to point out the invisible work that we have to constantly remember. We do the emotional juggling act of everyone's feelings, but somehow it just gets labeled as a part of being a mom. This is a 25/8 job. It can be exhausting. It can be overwhelming. And guess what? It doesn't come with a salary. So I was curious, what if we did earn a salary? What if we converted this mental load to a tangible figure? What would this mom be making if everything that we did was outsourced? I won't bore you with the full cost analysis that I did. If you are curious, email the show and I'll send you the full breakdown. But I looked at the specific town that I live in here in Colorado, and I looked up what the average earnings would be for all of our roles as chef, chauffeur, housekeeper, coordinator, childcare provider, night nurse. I could have kept going, I know, but for the sake of time and to not bore you to tears, I figured these were all titles that we could agree on that we've either done at some point in our motherhood journey or are currently doing right now. So after combining the average salary of each of these professions in my area, assuming that I work full time, the grand total came out to $289,000 a year. So that means that I should be making $791 a day. That's pretty good. Listen, if I had that kind of money, I would not say anything. But there would be signs. First, I would buy a lot of land, probably some animals. I'm starting a commune right off. That's the first thing. I'm talking rolling hills with wildflowers, orchards, as far as the eye can see. So, if I start posting pictures of myself in a literal paradise of my own making, just know that somebody started paying me my earned salary. And you hear this and you might be thinking, okay, well, that's just stay-at-home moms. There's a ton of us out here who are working and who are making a salary. Good. I'm glad we're on the same page because I had the same thought. So while not every working mom is making $289,000 a year, there are still plenty of women who are the breadwinners in their home, whether they just make more at work or if they're single moms. So I decided to do a cost analysis for working mothers as well, and what they would have to earn to be able to afford childcare and just their regular bills. And again, for this breakdown, I went with the town that I live in Colorado, and I looked up the average cost of care first. I made sure to include multiple options. I looked at childcare centers, in-home daycares, private nannies. I even looked at au pairs. And that average cost ranged anywhere from $30,000 to $54,000. It's a pretty big gap, so for the purpose of the exercise, I went with a median, $42,000, okay? For the mother's bills, I use generic categories, and I know this is getting a little boring. Just stick with me. I promise this is getting somewhere. I wanted to do it thoroughly because I wanted to make sure we honed in on the fact that life is expensive right now in all of these categories, okay? So for the working mother, we're looking at rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance, car payment, cell phone, and Wi-Fi. I could have kept going, but I felt like those were the most generic. If you want the full breakdown, let me know. The average cost that I got for all of those basic bills in my area came to $59,000. So if we're taking the median cost of childcare at $42,000, around $59,000 for bills, her net to pay all of her bills would have to be $101,000 a year, making her gross $140,000 a year. I know that was a lot of figures. Let's take a breath. I just wanted to help break down the reality of how much life is costing right now. And whether you're a stay at home mom and you're feeling burnt out and underappreciated, or if you're a working mom who just can't seem to make ends meet, it's not in your head. Life is really expensive right now. Did you know that only 11% of women in the US earn $100,000 or more? So, going back to our working Colorado mom, if you're a part of the other 89% that's not earning those six figures, you're already behind. You're already playing catch up. I did all of this research for this episode a few weeks ago, and I just kind of sat with this reality for a bit. I was trying to find some type of bright side or a nicer way to spin this so it didn't sound so doom and gloom. And the conclusion that I came to is that I can't. Because I can't change what is. The only thing I can offer is perhaps a different perspective. And I thought a valuable one would be coming from older mothers because the struggles that we're dealing with today, whether it's financially and trying to make ends meet, or it's the mental load in motherhood, these are not unique to our generation. Every generation has gone through hard times and they've struggled, but yet somehow you and I are here. So clearly something got them through what we're feeling right now. I wanted to see if I could find some nugget of wisdom to hold on to when the weight of the mental load starts to get heavy. I decided to try and find these answers by digging into my own family. So, my great great grandmother, who was born in 1901, was a mom during the Great Depression. She had 10 kids. Yes, you heard me right. 10 kids. I have two, and I'm overwhelmed. She's probably looking down thinking, well, really? You talking to a microphone about how hard it is? I had 10 kids. Goodness gracious. And even while being a full-time mom, she found time to work. A full-time mom of 10 kids. She worked. She washed and ironed her neighbors' clothes while they were at work, and she also ran a bed and breakfast in her home. She would leave vacant rooms in the house for travelers when they came through the area and needed a place to rest and get a good meal before moving on. While my mom was telling me the story, I just couldn't help but wonder what was motivating my great great grandmother. I mean, she had 10 kids. Was that what motivated her? Just to simply keep food on the table? Well, I don't blame her at all. And that's also a reality that a lot of us understand as well. Whether it's something you've gone through or are currently going through, there's a valid reason to need to work. Or, I don't know, was it more than just the money? Was it the purpose that came along with being needed? She saw a need for these travelers, and so she opened up rooms in her home. How did that feel to be a part of a larger ecosystem, helping out outside of her little family bubble, to pour into her community and to fill that gap where it was needed? Did she feel fulfillment in doing something she was good at? Maybe she was a really good homemaker and maybe she was a really good cook. And it's like, I really want to open my home to travelers who I know need a good bed and I know they need some good food in their belly and I can give them that. That's what I like to picture. I like to picture that, like, this is kind of a dream of hers to be able to pour into people and do those things that she was good at. And even if it was during the Great Depression, that means that she was able to find something that she loved even within motherhood. I'll never know whether my great great grandma's work was fueled out of necessity or passion. But hearing her story made me realize even more that no two motherhood journeys are comparable. We're all so unique. And we all have these peaks and valleys, but it seems like the one commonality across generations is that there is hope in finding joy and happiness and fulfillment in this motherhood journey. And if you're feeling deep in the trenches right now, this is not a you can do more, you can be more, you'll find it eventually, get out of your head. Like, this is just a gentle reminder that having kids isn't an end to anything. Even when you're feeling really heavy from all of this, just know that it is possible to find a new beginning. It just may be unknown. And I do know that there is a healthy balance between enjoying the now and finding different purposes while also being grounded in reality. And I'm still learning that balance too. We can't escape the financial pressures and the physical pressures of life. But what we can do is try to alleviate that mental load by leaning into the things that bring us joy. So, the next time you have a moment to yourself, whether the kids are at school or it's during nap time, just whenever the house is quiet, think about things that bring you joy. And then be intentional about making those things happen the rest of that week. And remember that we're allowed to do things that bring us joy. Not everything that we do has to be productive and tangible. If you just want to go get a coffee, go get a coffee. I also understand that coffee's not always in the budget. So if you want to go sit in the park just because it makes you happy, go sit in the park. I accidentally did all of this the other day. It kind of just turned into a day of joyful things that somehow hit this mental reset button in my brain. So I decided to go get some crystals that I had found on Facebook Marketplace. I know I was a little nervous too. However, I found an absolute gem, pun intended. It was such an amazing experience. So, her crystal shop is Timeless Energy Crystals here in Aurora, and it's run out of the owner, Jane Wang's house. She was so sweet. She was super knowledgeable about all of her crystals, all of her products, and her prices were insanely good. If you live in the Colorado area, you know how expensive crystals are. So I definitely recommend you go check out Timeless Energy Crystals. If you're needing some really quality stuff at an amazing price. So after I left this lovely interaction with this woman, I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop at this coffee shop that we used to live by. I loved it. I'm going to get myself coffee. And of course, that turned into a coffee and a pastry. So as I'm driving home, I pass this park that we always used to go to when the girls were little. And I'm like, oh, I haven't been there in so long. I just turned in. I didn't even think about it. I turned in and I ended up getting out and taking some cute pictures of the crystals and just enjoying my coffee and my pastry and the nice weather and people watching and dog watching. And it was lovely. And this whole detour was only 20 minutes. The coffee, the pastry, the park, 20 minutes of my time. And I was able to mentally refresh myself. I got home and instead of being frustrated by the messes and the sticky hands, I was like, okay, come here. And I'm just laughing with her while she's wiping it off. I'm like, where did you get sticky? And she's like, jelly, jelly. Okay, whatever. And then during dinner that night, we decided to have a dance party. And I just think the more that we continue to check in with ourselves and say, what do I need right now? And then we listen and then we do it and we hit that mental refresh button. I feel like that mental load starts to shift a little bit. It never fully goes away, but at least we know we have the control to shift that weight, even if it means a change of perspective. So if you're on a journey to finding your purpose, or if you have stories of your own of creative ways that you've made ends meet over the years, or if you have a question for how other moms have dealt with the mental load, you can DM me anytime on my socials as well. I'll answer there. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's all under some variation of Drafting Motherhood Pod or podcast. Or you can always email the show, draftingmotherhoodpod@gmail.com. Soon, I plan to do an episode of answering some rapid fire questions that the show has received and also sharing some really real and raw motherhood story submissions that we've received as well. So keep sending those in. I absolutely love reading them, and I'm excited to share some of these with you guys. Thanks for stopping by. And remember, while you're out there in the real world this week, try to find the little joys when you can. And who knows, you might end up somewhere totally unexpected. And if you do, come hang out with me next week and we'll talk about it.